Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, this is Austin here, bringing you guys a PvZ matchup here on Cloud Kingdom. At the top right, we have Acer Scarlett spawning as the purple Zerg. At the bottom left here, we have NaNiwa, the blue Protoss. So these are arguably two of the strongest foreigners. NaNiwa had a little bit more success in 2011. Scarlett's been up and coming over the past 6 or 7 months. She tore through the WCS Canada Finals and WCS North America Championships with seeming ease and stuck it to some Korean powerhouses in the GSL World Championship when it was World versus Korea in a clan war or team league style match, I guess you could say, because they're not necessarily clans. So this is from the IPL 5 to my knowledge. I did not have too much time to check up on exactly where this game comes from. I just grabbed it off sc2replays.eu. Usually I go to Gosu Gamers, but their site was down at the specific time I wanted to download this replay. I'm a little bit pressed for time because I'm going to bed right after this. I have my final exam tomorrow. It's a midterm, but it's my last of 3, and then after that I'm completely done, and I'm hopefully going to be bringing you guys a lot more content over the next couple weeks, as I will have a 2-week long Christmas break. And no promises again, like I made a few weeks ago, pumping out a bunch of videos on a long weekend. It didn't quite turn out as planned. Sometimes that just happens, but hopefully I'm hoping to bring a lot of videos. Scarlett is known for having a very strong style. I haven't seen too many of her games. I've just heard of legends. The only one I heard of was a very, very long match between her and Nurchio that lasted something almost like an hour from the WCS Global Finals, where there was a bunch of crazy moves made on both sides. NaNiwa has been known for his bad manner, and he created the Nanny Walk, which he'd used after he beat ST in the Blizzard, in the no, it was the Blizzard World Championship or something like that last year. He was able to trounce NaNiwa 2-1, ST, what am I saying, and gave him a thumbs down walking out of his booth. And then it might have been MLG World Championship, yeah, I believe it was. I'm mixing up all my sponsor or / organizer names, as this is from the IPL. I recently cast the games from a Blizzard tournament, and there's also MLG to worry about. In terms of tournaments at the moment, there is the Home Story Cup, there's another IEM coming up in a couple of weeks, and the Blizzard World Championship, well, the Blizzard Cup, which is organized by the GSL and features some of the better Korean players. It's the GSL Tour Finals. All different players that won various key events are participating. I think the finals are Parting and Life. Parting is just on fire right now. He was able to win the MLG Tournament of Champions final just tonight, 4-1 over SK Telecom T1 Rain, who's a dominant Protoss player from Brood War, now transitioned fully to SC2. So Scarlett dancing around 4 wings here outside her opponent's main. NaNiwa has not Forge Fast expanded, which is extremely standard in PvZ, so Scarlett likely has an eyebrow raised at the moment. She's looking to grab her third. I do hypothesize, I thought this was a drone over here going to build the third base, but it was rather an overlord. She's now going to focus down this probe with her queen. How much we'll be able to see, just this hatchery tech in the spawning pool perhaps should be all that the probe needs to scout in order for NaNiwa to have full knowledge of what his opponent's up to. He is now going for a delayed expansion, so I guess not too unorthodox. He's just changing up his build opener, fearing some possible aggression from Scarlett. NaNiwa's under sole sponsorship by Myonix. I'm not sure if he's looking to join a team or not, but he's been off one ever since he left Quantic a few months ago, which recently disbanded, by the way, just in other news. If you guys don't read Wikipedia, I'm a huge fan. I read all sorts of news articles on there. C is recently retired, e.g. picking up Jadong and Revival. But anyways, we'll get back into our game. Scarlett going for her speed. Again, a little bit delayed. It seems like both these players are just fearing aggression from one another. That was a very dramatic breathe in. I was just like, I was completely unintentional. This is what happens when you study for exams so intensely. You hear that voice crack just there? Even then, all the stress is starting to get to me, even in my commentating. NaNiwa going for a Warp Prism, and suddenly I am getting very excited for this next few minutes of this game, because Warp Prism play with a lot of sentries in PvZ can be so dangerous, and NaNiwa is thinking along the same lines as me, as he has 3 sentries now, with this one just popping out. His Warp Gate tech just now finishing, and a War Prism on its way out. Actually, it is now out. So if he picks up these 3 sentries and just heads in for some major aggression, or if he just doesn't pick up anything and reveals the War Prism to Scarlett, that'll work as well, because these Lings are following this War Prism. So I don't know if NaNiwa just blindly issued the move command, but that is not so intelligent, because Scarlett, as a very aware player, is going to know about this, and might even just be able to deny it entirely with her queens, or just force it back. NaNiwa definitely needs to be a little bit more conscious with how he controls his units. Scarlett, in the meantime, getting her Roach Warren and Evolution Chamber in her main base. This queen's so very slow off creep, so NaNiwa will have to see if he's able to get in the main base and force field it off. Even then, there were so many Lings on the field chasing this Warp Prism around that no Warp Ends will really be possible. NaNiwa going for a very fast Robotics Bay and chronoing out an Immortal here. He's expecting heavy Roach play. I think he might have scouted it. Maybe he was looking to scout with this Warp Prism. He was able to see the Evo Chamber, but not quite the Roach Warren. Excuse me for that little mini burp there. Scarlett getting 10 drones at a time, which is crazy economical. She now has 51 total harvesters. NaNiwa's 37, at least at the time. He's getting 2 more at a time. Robotics Bay close to completion, and Scarlett is opting for her Lair Tech. It is about halfway there. Too bad she can't chrono it right. Another Immortal on the way here from NaNiwa, and he will likely get a ton of Colossi as soon as this Robotics Bay does finish. We'll have to see if he adds on a second Robo. You see a lot of Protoss players off 2 base going double Robo and just chronoing out Colossi, getting a very high count before their opponent's able to mass up some Corruptors. But Scarlett will have her Lair Tech. She can get some Infestors and then transition into late game Broodlords perhaps. Spire is always an option after you get your lair. We will have to see whether or not she decides to do so. We'll have to check her scouting right now. She knows about the gate, the cybernetics core, nothing about the Robo or Robo Bay, but that will likely come quite soon as she's morphing in an Overseer, so it should not take very long for her to realize that her opponent is opting for this awesome Tier 3 Protoss ground unit. I would call it a Tier 3 unit. I don't know about you guys. I know the Mothership Carrier are Tier 3. I would say the Colossus is. It's just most often rushed in all Protoss mashups. You'll see Colossus-based play in the vast majority of them. It's such a fragile unit, though. Only 350 health. The Immortal itself has only 50 less. It just seems it's so fragile. I mean, it can't take too many hits. It's not a tanky unit like an Ultralisk or a high damage dealing unit like a siege tank. It's just so strong AoE if it's allowed to get off too many shots in an elongated battle. NaNiwa warping in some stalkers from this War Prism. He just has a bunch of sentries, 1 Colossus and 2 Immortals. This is where a Protoss player wins or loses the game with control alone. If he slips up in his force field micro even once, that could cost him this entire game, as Scarlett just has the numbers on her side. We will have to see how it goes down. NaNiwa force fielding, but it's subpar. Scarlett getting a very good engagement position here, able to focus down a lot of these Immortals, but they're hardened shields, and NaNiwa's great War Prism micro is saving them for the time being. It looks like Scarlett is closing in, however, these sentries do not have unlimited force fields. They are running out. NaNiwa can micro as much as he wants, but he can also force field off the ramp and kill off the units on this lower half near the 4th base location. Will NaNiwa be able to pull out in time? It looks like he won't have to. What godlike micro here from NaNiwa. I was ready to call it for Scarlett on so many occasions there. It looks like that will happen anyway, and NaNiwa will be far behind in this game, but I have to give it to him. That was rather impressive micro. He does lose the War Prism and only gets away with a weakened Colossus that Scarlett might be able to snipe. NaNiwa for the time being is just going to corner it here. It may get killed off here. It looks like it will, but well done there from NaNiwa. That was a fairly nice engage. He is now very far down in supply. That Colossus is just going to rupture right on the edges of this Cloud Kingdom. It's not looking good right now for our blue BM Protoss player. At least he's not as BM as he used to be. It seems as though he's kind of increased his professionalism, which is likely why he's received sole sponsorship. But good for NaNiwa. I mean, he's a talented player. I think if he can really crank out the hours, he'll be a top warner. It seems to me as though Scarlett has put in no shortage of hours herself, or perhaps she just has such raw, pure, somewhat realized potential. She is dropping creep at her opponent's third. So NaNiwa, his game really relied on a Korean-style Sentry Immortal all-in. with a Colossus kind of mixed in there. So it wasn't really a Korean-style Sentry Immortal all-in with parting Soul, Wan, where he just gets mass Immortal Sentry, pushes out, destroys Zerg after Zerg. But I don't know why he threw the Colossus in there, to be honest with you. Colossi not so great against Roaches. Like I said, they add in that DPS, but it's just not worth it in comparison to Immortals, which are the hardest counter to Roaches with their hardened shields. And as Contaminate there from Scarlett going to block off the Forge for a little while. She is getting her Infestors, as I did predict, and a Spire in her main base. The little drone swimming in this creep bulb is so small at first, as the Spire is just a tall but slim structure. Now, it seems as though NaNiwa is finally going to focus down this overworld. Scarlett just played this magnificently. She was force fielded off quite well by NaNiwa, not engaged there, but she had the numbers on her side. She had the economy on her side. Her drone count at 73 to NaNiwa's 57. Even 57 off 2 bases. We can see there's a definite degree of oversaturation here at the natural. Not too much, but we do have... You see, I usually go for 2 rows and then 2 probes. He's gone for 2 rows and 5 probes in anticipation of his getting his 3rd base. But I don't think he can quite hold this 3rd base with the kind of army that Scarlett has. She just wants to close out this game as soon as possible. Her army supply is 90 to 47. Normally you'd give or take maybe 25 to 30 supply if you're playing against the Zerg, I would say, but something like double your army supply, not so great. Plus she is also getting 5 Corruptors. NaNiwa getting his Blink and Weapons level 2, but I'm going to argue too little too late. I welcome any sort of a surprise or objection to this theory. Should NaNiwa execute his force field micro perfectly and blink well, should his blink actually be finished in time. But it seems to me as though Scarlett is going to roll into this 3rd base and destroy the Nexus, which that alone gives her such a significant advantage. NaNiwa, I like to say this. Scarlett has kicked up the Hornet's Nest, and what I like to do in my games when I harass, if you kick up the Hornet's Nest, you have to be ready to receive its sting. So Scarlett is ready to receive NaNiwa's sting. Kicking up the Hornet's Nest is provoking your opponent through the use of effective harassment. So if you drop a War Prism in their main and you force field off their ramp with sentries and just continually kill off their main base, you've kicked up the Hornet's Nest and they're going to push out with their main army. So we'll have to see if Scarlett can deal with NaNiwa's main army. It seems as though she will be able to. Her composition very favorable. She has those Corruptors on the field. She's getting 3 more. She's getting her missile attacks, a level 3, ladies and gentlemen. Even melee attacks mixed in there with a Greater Spire. Broodlords are going to demolish this mini Protoss ball. It doesn't look that large because of the towering Colossi, and I don't think it is that large, to be honest with you. But again, Protoss units less numerous but more effective in terms of damage output. Here are some nice force fields here from NaNiwa, but these Corruptors DPSing down the Colossi like there's no tomorrow. Let's minimize our little window here to get a full view of the battle. Corruptors slaughtering Colossi. This War Prism going to come in, but the Corruptors will focus it down. No reinforcements for you, NaNiwa, says Scarlett, as she forces her Swedish opponent back with seeming ease. There goes the War Prism. A bunch of infested Terrans in hot pursuit. Some of the Corruptors will die, but so too will the Colossus, and I would trade any amount of Corruptors for a Colossus. Not literally any amount, but nonetheless, guys, I apologize if I was a little bit unenergetic this time around. I was trying to bring you a different type of cast just because I'm tired and felt like casting, but did not quite have the energy for it. So, I hope you enjoyed this more analytical style, rather than bubbly and happy, which I'm probably going to bring you in my next cast. Catch you guys then. I hope you enjoyed. Leave any feedback, as always, in the comments below. If you do subscribe, you usually make my day. Peace.